Okay, you right to go?
Yeah, I'm right, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now, so you lived at Wallingborough and then you went on to Spring Grove after that?
Yes, but I'll just tell you about Wallingborough because this is the big importance.
Sure.
We lived quite close to the road, and my mother was a wonderful cook, and she used to, the people used to come knocking at the door. We'd see them, we were all out. A lot of us used to get under the house and watch these people come in. They were from the war, they had no money, nothing. Every day you'd see lots of people going past. And she used to cook things and we used to give them to them. They came near the fence, we took it out and gave to them. She used to make scones and all sorts of different things, and a long sort of piece of thing that looked like a loaf of bread and all stuff like that. We did that every day. I can remember how.
So when you think that, how old would you?
On the side of the road.
Well, how old do you think you were when that happened?
Well,
Was that at?
I must have been 5 or 6.
Okay, so that was about 1930 when the Depression had sort of started.
Oh yeah. It was. I can remember. I can feel it in my body. You know, when I think about it. It was a shocking thing, and you know, and I've often told people about it.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, you wouldn't remember." I said, "Well, I do remember."
Yeah, that's amazing.
You
isn't
can't
it?
get things like that shoved down your throat.
No.
If you haven't seen it, no.
No, that's right.
And it was, you know, and we lived on this Ware's farm.
Yeah.
The Ware people, they were very rich people.
Yes.
And they owned a hotel in Lismore.
Yeah.
And they had 3 ladies, 3 sisters, and they worked in the hotel and all that sort of thing, which they were beautiful. And Mum used to do all their sewing, and it was really lovely. We were friends with them until I got married, because when I went away, I haven't seen them since. But, you know, they were very old when I saw them last.
Okay. So that was at Wallingborough and then on to Spring Grove.
Yeah, we went to Spring Grove. It was a funny little place. It was seemed to be up in between 2 hills. A nice little stream running through, you know, and there was only a few cows there. We didn't milk many cows there because we were there on the edge of the Nowlan people's farm, and we used to go to church. So probably about 2 miles away. And we used to go on the sulky. We had a little horse called Silver.
Yeah.
Not Silky, Silver. And we were going to church one day and we were late. Mum said, "Oh, don't tell me she wants a drink of water because we haven't got time to have a drink." So we drove into this little water, lovely, you know, stones on going across there, and she just put them out down into the water, and Mum gave her a flip on the tail with a little whip, and she stood up like that, and it all went backwards. The sulky went backwards. We all landed out there.
It didn't land in the creek too, did it?
And the horse, she bucked and jumped, and she got away and took off. But we went to Mam, and the Nowlans apparently heard us squealing and all, and they came and they took us to church. We were all wet here and there, crying. I was crying. I know I was crying. I suppose I was going on for 7.
Okay.
Yeah, and we all still went to church.
Yeah.
And Dad belted the horse. When we got home, he'd caught the horse and she got a big hiding.
Now the Spring Grove and Caniva, are they? You lived at? Are they the same place or are they different places when you lived at Caniva? Or did you go to
Caniva's we went to Caniva after that. We had 3 years at Caniva.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember the 3 years. We had 3 years there.
Yeah, and
that's Spring Grove, we weren't there for so very long, but it was on the edge of the Nowlan farm, and they had a girl about just a little bit younger than me.
Yeah.
And they had older people.
Yeah.
The boys were good cricketers, and
that when you went to Caniva, that's when you first went to school at Caniva, or did you go to school before that?
A couple of days I think I went to Spring Grove.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you know, you didn't start very early. Like,
No,
you know,
6, yeah.
so
Not like today.
yeah, no,
It's quite different.
Different altogether.
Yeah.
You could go to school without shoes, and sometimes it was a bit lucky for us. I don't remember having
Whether you had shoes
much.
at all.
Well, we got some sand shoes when we got to Kenai because we had to walk to school on a rough road, like just
Okay. So you went to school at Kaniva, and you also went to Sunday school at Kaniva?
Yeah, oh yes, we always went there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you remember going to the Sunday school picnics at Kaniva?
Yeah, oh yes, yeah. And Mum used to play tennis there too.
Okay.
I've got a photo of Mum in amongst a whole lot of others. One of her brothers is in the photo as well, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and,
There's an article in the newspaper that you won a prize for a hymn at the Sunday
so
school
I don't
picnic.
know about it.
You can't remember that
I can't remember too much of it. I just remembered, you know, just tiny little details, but it's not worth mentioning, you know. But nothing.
I think Vonnie won a prize for reciting the catechism. And,
She got all those. But isn't it funny?
Yeah.
I won a little butterfly about that. It was organda, is a famous material.
Yes.
And it had this bit, and it had silver stuff on it for the best writing.
Yes.
And now I can't write at all, you know. It's awful.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
No, that's right.
Oh,
So
that's
you
funny.
were there about 3 or 4 years at Kaniva, and then you went on to Wadeville.
Wadeville, that was another one out in the bush. See, it was really hard to get a job anywhere, like without any experience. Or I suppose we were farmers, you know.
Yes.
And so we went to Frederick's, and the one we went to out there.
Yeah.
People by the name of Frederick's, and it was on the side of a hill, and we were a long way from the main road, from down towards Blue Knob.
Yeah.
And we had the sulky, of course, and Michael Burt and like our mum's brothers used to come out. I think they had old car then, and they came out and they went to the Blue Mountains to they went shooting, I think. I don't know what they brought back, but he come walking back at the finish where they left the car somewhere and something happened to the car. And they were walking back, and he come walking up to our house, and the kids were playing out under the trees, and he sang out to us, you know, and we all looked at him, and then we were all squealing. He had a great big carpet snake wrapped all around him. And so that's,
And it's amazing what you remember, isn't it? So that was Wadeville, eh?
yes,
Yeah. So, and we were only there for a short period of time, about 12 months or something, weren't you?
Yes, at most,
Yeah.
We had a, now what do they call the place that they go around, but put their tent up and have one of those things. We had one of those out of Wadeville. That's the only thing I went to ever. Yeah, that was funny.
So what was it, a picnic, or was it what
do you call them? Merry-go-round. Merry-go-round or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of funny things, yeah.
All right.
Lovely.
So it was after that time at Wadeville, short time at Wadeville, you went off to Swan Bay, and that was in 1937.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So do you remember the move and going down and all that stuff? How did
yes,
it all get
yes,
down
I
there?
don't know. I think Mum's brothers helped us. I think they had a car and that, and they
Okay.
carried some of us down, you know.
Yeah.
But because they had I forget who took the furniture and that. We didn't have much furniture either.
No.
We had, it sort of all happened quite well, and we still had the sulky.
Yep.
And we had another horse, but that wasn't Sylvie.
Yeah.
There's another one, a red one.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget its name. I couldn't have been in the sulky too much, otherwise I would have thought.
And
That's
Swan
right. We had the sulky when we went down there.
and Swan Bay was quite a different place because it's
yeah.
surrounded by the farm is
Water,
almost
yeah.
in.
It's like a lake, you know, not a lake, an
an
island.
island almost, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was meant to be an island, you know. because most of it was up higher than
Yeah.
a lot of the water, but it went down through the gate like this.
That's right.
If they'd have filled that in or dug it out, anybody, any clever person would have had that piece out
It would
and,
have been an island.
made a fortune out of an island
Yeah, that's right.
for a farm.
So it was also a bigger farm than you'd been on before,
Oh yes,
wasn't
we
much
had,
bigger.
yeah.
So
Yes, and we weren't there long, you know, and the war was
yes.
on, and the two boys they had to go. They went and
So that was Ashley and Barney.
yeah, and Ashley was in the Light Horse before. Of course, he joined that when he was at Wadeville, I think,
Okay.
because he joined it at Kyogle,
Yeah. Okay.
and he had some cousins and things in it over there as well.
So you would have been 10 or 11 when you got to Swan Bay.
Yeah.
And you went to school at the at the Swan Bay School.
Swan Bay School, yes, we just went over there and.
That was very close by, wasn't it? You could almost see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and so one teacher.
Yeah.
This one teacher, he had a wife, and she taught us sewing. I could sew when she tried to teach me.
You knew already.
She wanted me to start it somewhere way back then. I said, "Oh, what's that for?" I said, "Oh, well, this is how you do it. You can't do it. You can't learn to sew if you don't do this."
Yeah.
Oh, I said, "Oh, you know." So, but anyhow, that was funny. Just a funny little start of it.
Yeah.
But it stuck with me. I always wanted to sew and sew buttons on them.
Yeah.
I found that when I was 10 or 11 that I could make the boys' shirts. I'd used to make them.
Of course, your mother had showed you how to sew.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, we used well, we could all sew, but I think I seemed to stick with me.
Yeah.
And,
so what sort of, how did you, do you have a machine to sew with, or did you sew by hand?
Yeah, Mum had an old Singer machine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
real old one.
Was that one that you pedalled to sew, or how did that work?
Yeah, the pedals, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, okay,
Which
so
made everything.
And almost all your clothes, everyone was made, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't buy very much at the shop.
Yeah, I know. We didn't have any money to buy anything then.
Yeah.
It's really...
How about things like your underwear and stuff like that? Did you make that, or did you buy that, or did you have any?
We used to make pants and things like that occasionally, you know, like Mum was able to get some that sort of material, but it wasn't available very much. See, because things like that, it hadn't entered Australia really very much. Like, I suppose you see a book and that, and they're doing all these things, but you had to be in something business-like to get anything like that. And she was got really friendly with a couple of shops in Lismore, and they really gave us some stretchy material and stuff like that you never saw on the counter anywhere.
Okay.
And it only came in a very short time. Through the war, they started we started getting it through somehow.
More of those sorts of things.
Yeah, and anything it was fairly expensive to buy, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned before that you had electricity at Swan Bay, but you're not sure when that happened. It might have.
I'm not too sure, but I think. Well, I know we did have lamps and what you call it, but I thought we had some small amount of electricity. There was something we had, but I don't remember what it was or how.
Yeah, it's hard to know, because we at Coracai on our farm, we didn't get electricity till 1956. So.
Oh, you know that, do you?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. So when you had a...
I was away when I was up staying with my girlfriend at Caniba, Joyce Temple, and she was an only child, and they had a little farm. They lived next door to a Scotch people, and they were friendly with us too. We've got photos. I've got photos of all this, and one time I went up. I think somebody was sick or something, and I stayed at that place for 6 weeks.
Yes.
And that was I remember, and it was something to do with electricity.
Yeah.
I think the electricity people put up a little tent thing to stay asleep the night and things like that, you know, because they had so much to do.
Well, before that, you
had to wait your turn.
Yes.
That's what's got me, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't our turn to get the electricity and such and such, and I don't know when it was.
When it came to food and things like that, how did you keep things cool? You didn't have electricity. You didn't have fridges like you had today.
We had a thing. We had a little. We had ice thing. You could if you could get some ice. A truck like the cream truck, you know, used to collect the cream.
Yeah.
I think he used to drop us some blocks of ice.
Okay.
Of a morning or something, and we put them in a old kerosene tin, like you know how they used to be with the kerosene and everything, and we all got it in box, and we used to clean those out. I remember Dad cutting the top out of one, and you put the ice in there, and we had it under the water. Under the water.
Yeah. Okay.
Not under the water, under the house.
Under the house.
Under the house. I was thinking about the water. It was quite interesting. It was just underneath the windows across our kitchen, we used to call it the breakfast room.
Yes.
Yeah, under there.
Okay.
And you had to get in there under there and get it. We tried to make some ice blocks. I don't know, us kids tried to make ice blocks a lot of times.
Yeah.
They didn't come out very good. But I can remember the first fridge we had was funny, old one, yeah.
Yeah, so did you used to grow a lot of vegetables and things on the farm?
Yes, in the garden and that, and we had a little long garden out.
Yes.
Just outside the kitchen windows and that.
Yeah.
With white, with that wire, you know, around this about that side, holes.
Wire netting.
Wire netting.
Yeah.
So used to have across there, and up near the cow yard.
Yes.
We had a lot. We used to grow big cabbages and stuff like that up there.
Yeah.
And spinachy stuff.
Yeah.
Not spinach, but something like spinach.
Yes.
Something else it was.
Okay.
Can't think what it was.
Yeah.
Stall.
And you'd grow corn.
Oh yes, we had plenty of corn and stuff like that.
Pumpkins and.
Oh yeah, pumpkins and all that, and when we were only young, we used to the corn. We used to bring it in the cart and tip it in the barn.
Yeah.
And of a night time, we used to have lanterns over there. We used to have to, in the winter time, we had the lanterns and we used to take the husk off the corn. Yeah. To feed our chooks and all that sort of stuff, what we did with it. Yeah.
And you had chooks, you have ducks or anything like that, or just chooks?
We just had only a few ducks, we didn't have them for long because they weren't really good having them there with all the other things in the water. Yeah. They didn't set in. We used to shoot the ducks, I can't tell you that. Little black one. Barry was always a good shot.
Sure.
You know, he used to get and do it.
Well, I think it was Barney that said they used to shoot the ducks, you were not allowed to shoot them, and the reason being is that it was actually a sanctuary for while everyone else could shoot ducks, you couldn't shoot them there. So
lots of swans and they were a very pretty place there. I loved it there.
Oh yeah, and you could go fishing there too. What sort of fish did you catch during?
Oh well, we used to have, I suppose we had mullet. Yeah. Mullet was the main thing, but if you got a nice perch or something like that, and flathead, not too many flathead, but later on they came and we used to have just the boat. You put a lantern on the boat and row along, and the fish would jump in. This is when you're jumping mullet. Jumping mullet.
You know, there's a lot of people that don't believe that.
No, I know. We tried to tell people then, but they didn't take any notice of it.
Yeah.
The Whale girls that we lived at Wallingar, we kept in touch with them for many years, and we still making dresses and putting beads and that on. We used to love doing that, and we used to tell them. We took a couple of fish up with them, and she said, "Oh, no, I wouldn't use that. They're probably poison." Do you realise that? Right, old auntie.
Yes.
Yeah, I call her auntie. So, oh yeah, but they were lovely ladies.
So,
They used to work in the hotel.
yeah.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, you grew a lot of your own food and things like that, and you caught fish, and you had your own chooks, and you'd have roast chicken dinners and all those sorts of things.
Dad used to be always making chook pens and stuff.
Yeah. When it came to cooking, I mean, you have what sort of stove did you have to cook?
Oh, we had just an ordinary stove. That one at Swan Bay, it was good. It had legs on it, a little shelving right down the bottom.
Yeah.
It was fairly big size.
And
it had a funny thing on the front, like a lighthouse.
Yes. That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, it was the brand.
Yeah.
And it was a wood-fired one, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wood. Dad used to be always topping the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good then and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we used to have a lot of weekends when the families had come, different families had come.
Yeah.
Something on, and it was lovely out the front of our house there. It was all, we've got a couple of good photos of them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. It was a beautiful spot, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good. And I have been down. I've been down there since recently, and I took some photos of the house, and the young boy that lives there now, he's decorated it, and it's all different altogether.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So who did the cooking at home? Who was the main? My
Mum.
mother was the main cook. Did you girls help at all?
Oh yes, like everything else we did. We just did it sort of all together.
Yeah.
And we we knew what our little jobs were and that, but
yes.
When the war was on and the boys went away, like Lola and I worked really hard because we had to buy cane to feed the cattle with some sort of cane.
Saccharine, was it? No, was it saccharine?
Could have been saccharine.
Yeah.
But anyhow, they bought, the truck just came and used to drop it. But also Dad used to cut the cane, like it was only him there to do it, see?
Yeah.
And Gordon wasn't tall enough to do it, strong, and he wanted to go to school.
Yeah, he was only 10 years old then, anyhow.
Yeah, Lola and I had to do like men's jobs, and used to have to cut it or load it on to the slides and whatever we had to throw it up high and all that. It was all very heavy work.
So you didn't have any...
worked very hard.
Yeah, you didn't have any mechanical help like tractors or anything, but it was always horse and slide and carts and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it was hard when there was no boys there to help us.
Yeah, okay.
Poor Dad, I think he wore his heart out, I think.
Yeah, it was hard. There's no doubt it was hard work.
Yeah, and...
So, did you have any floods while you were there?
Oh yes, we had a lot of floods, yes. Yeah, I came right up onto the verandas, the side veranda on the southern side.
Yes.
Came right up on there, and I heard Mum sing out something, "Where are you girls, where are you?" And she's thinking out, and went running out. She said, "Look, I'm out here, there's snakes around, look." And she had 2 tennis rackets, and she had one in each hand. And she was killing these little snakes about this long, and that they're coming on. She thought they'd come on and get inside the door and get into the house.
Yeah,
and so
they were escaping the floodwaters.
And she was, it was on that little side veranda.
Yeah.
On the southern side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just some little awful one.
You used to go swimming in the river and everything. Where did you sort of learn to swim? You used to go, was it called the Point or the Spit? What was it called? Where did you go swimming?
Well, just first of all, we went down as you're going down to the Point.
The Point is where the narrow bit of the bay is, and you cross over to the main road there.
Yes, yeah.
That's the Point.
Yeah. But when on your way down on this left-hand side, I think it was up there like that, and down here the water was there, and it was lovely sand along there, but sometimes it was real black mud.
Well, after a flood, you'd have mud.
You'd have the mud was in there. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah,
And we used to go swimming in there, and we sort of learned to swim there.
yeah,
And also we used to go over to McPherson's Point, was
Yeah.
straight across. We used to go over there. We used to meet you fellas there. I've got a nice photo of
yeah.
some of Lola with the there. So that was after I was married, I think.
Yeah, and then when you used to, Donald McPherson had a speedboat.
Oh yes, he had a lovely speedboat, and Lola and I were the main ones on it.
You-
Went
You didn't have
Oh.
skis, you'd had an aquaplane.
aquaplane, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
were you good at that?
Oh yeah, really good.
Yeah.
It was really.
Ski
we
behind
both
the boat?
really good.
Yeah,
Yeah. And he used to take us up to Bungawalbin to a dance and things like that. He'd take us in the boat,
yeah,
like especially around Christmas time when it was more light, you know.
yes.
But I don't think he used to stay very, very long. But after he passed away, they didn't have a boat. I think, well, Joe used to bring it down sometimes, and
Yeah. So when you were sort of, the social scene, you know, the entertainment that you used to go on, there were often events and things up at Bungawalbin Hall, wasn't
all
there?
sorts of different
There'd be a dance and all
dances and welcome home to some of the soldiers and
Yes.
different, all lovely things like that. And the main people with the orchestra was the Leesons.
that. Yes.
It was trying to think of which note Leeson was, but the two girls of Leesons, they were good cooks. They was made the sponge cakes and all that.
That was, I remember their name.
Eva and Lucy.
Eva and Lucy.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, and then there was the other Leesons that related to them, a man, and he had 12 children.
Yes.
But he lived up towards your place mainly.
Yeah.
And
He would have been
his
part of
eldest
Bob.
son.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Bob Leeson, wasn't it? Bob.
No, Bob and Bill and
Yeah.
Jimmy, they were,
Different
they
family.
were, and their father used to play the piano or something, didn't he? You know, an accordion or something.
Yes.
Yeah, for the dances.
Yeah.
But there was another Leeson. They still go to,
Yeah.
they go to golf with Neil and them.
Okay.
That's those family. And the youngest in their family was a little girl.
Yeah.
And Noel was friendly with the eldest boy. His name was Norman. And
Yeah.
they went to high school together.
Okay.
And when Noel was very ill, he heard about him being sick and he phoned me and from Queensland. He was a bank manager.
Yeah.
And so I didn't tell Noel, but anyhow, he was coming. He come down.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks. He was here 2 weeks before they took Noel up to the hospital.
Okay.
And he came and saw Noel.
Yeah.
On our little back veranda at our nice house we had down here, down the road. And so when Noel passed away, I had to sell the place, you know. Well, I didn't have to sell it. Well, I stayed there for seven or 8 years, I think, by
Okay.
myself.
Well,
And I went to sell it, and this lady came along, and they said they had a lady interested. I didn't know who she was or anything. Her name's Joy. Anyhow, they brought her through, and she was in my house 5 minutes, and she said, "I'll take this." He said, "It's beautiful." And she was the baby of those Leesons. And she lives there.
oh,
And she
goodness
loves
me.
it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and she's one of the bosses at the helicopter service op shop.
Okay.
So
Right, so there was
it's a wonderful story.
That's right. So there were lots of entertainment happened at the Bungawalbin Hall, and there was, I think, one we mentioned earlier was Eileen and Ashley's engagement,
Yeah.
and I think Mum had a do there too. Did you have? Yeah.
No, I didn't have anything there. It was burnt. No, it wasn't burnt down. It was closed down. But she didn't.
The war was on at that stage.
Hmm?
The war was on at that stage, wasn't it?
Oh yes, but yeah.
Just when you
When I
got
was married in 1945, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were married at Coracai Presbyterian Church.
Ah, okay.
We were married in the Presbyterian Church, but
Yeah.
Noel was Anglican.
Yes.
So when we went to Casino,
Yeah.
we knew Mum knew the Anglican fellow there, and so we decided we'd go to church
The
there.
Anglican church.
So Noel's people didn't go to church, but they were Anglican.
Okay.
Noel was Christian so I'm Anglican ever since.
Where did you meet Noel? Was he?
Oh, just at I think it's Bunga Hall. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know in Woodburn Hall,
Yes.
Lola and I used to have a long dress
Yes.
for a ball, and
Yeah.
we'd go into a ball and we'd carry it across in the boat
Yes.
and wait for the Dorringtons to pick us up to take us to Woodburn.
Yeah.
And McDonald's that owned the bread shop, they were very friendly with us, so we used to have, we were one of their best customers because all the bread Mum and them used to buy,
Oh, okay.
right through
Your big family, a lot of bread.
And so they said, if you want to come, girls want to come and get dressed, you're welcome any time, doesn't matter. And Vicky said, what if we want to take them off before we go home? And they said, oh, well, you can come up as long as it's not after 12 o'clock, And that was the old people that were there.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
anyhow, that's what we did. We carried our long frocks that we'd made
Yeah.
all together, and it was really good. And yeah,
But that.
then we had to start going the other way after that because Lola was going with Martin then too.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So Jessie used to do a lot of singing.
Oh,
didn't
yes,
she?
she
Was
used to
very popular
Yeah.
at singing at all sorts of things, wasn't she?
Yeah. Oh yes, she used to love it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, she used to have a little beer and some smokes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where she got it all from.
Okay.
Oh, dead at
Yeah.
49. Dead at 5:49.
Yeah. That's right.
So what a
Yeah.
lot of.
That's right. So.
So,
So you got married in 1945,
yeah.
and you lived in Woodburn first up.
Yes, it belonged to a Williams again.
Yep.
It belonged to Edna Williams, that's right, and her husband, that's right. And so it was a fairly new house, and so we rented that, and then Noel had his name in for different. He used to always be applying for jobs.
Yes.
And we had quite a lot of mail. I said, it's really good the way they answered. They answered, they say,
Yes.
it's a war, the war's over, but, this is going to go on for a long time. Well, it did. Like there was a lot of sadness after the war. Like when it finished, it just everything kept, happening and going wrong. Well, see, Noel applied to go to the university, but he didn't get in, because they had some people people from overseas had applied to come here, and so they took a lot of places up at Armidale, and he couldn't go.
He was one of the only 4 people in Woodburn in his year that went at school that got into go to Lismore High School, wasn't he? Yeah. That's right.
And so we rented that house, and
He worked at the PMG.
He worked at the PMG. Yeah.
What did he do at the
The government did that. Well, he climbed up the thing.
Okay, so he worked on the effectively what Telstra is on the telephone. Telephone system.
Yeah. He was there out in the bush. That's where he was when Cliff was born, up at Powell.
Is that right?
We got the message.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And the lady that I went to a funeral last Friday, it was Noel's cousin.
Yeah.
And when she was a little girl, her parents, which was Noel's mother's brother, Boyle, and he used to put the cow, those things on the cow's tits for you to get the milk.
Oh, yeah, milking machine.
Milking machines.
Yes.
He used to do that. Percy knew you fellas.
Yeah.
You knew the carks there.
Okay.
And anyhow, last Friday I went to one of the daughters. Well, she was 8 when Cliff came out to the hospital with Cliff. They went and got me and took them to their place because Noel couldn't come up because there was flood up, and he was working on the day before, or when he was born, or when he was born, whatever.
Yeah.
Stuff. But he couldn't come up the day that they took me out of hospital because there was a whole lot of other ladies coming in.
Yeah. So where was Cliff born? He was born in Corrico, was he?
No, he was born in Lismore.
Lismore.
At Carandina Hospital.
Okay.
And, and this lady, I stayed at this in Mackenzie Street.
Yep.
With Noel's auntie and uncle. And this
okay.
little girl that died last Friday.
Yeah.
She was the first one to kiss my little son. And,
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was unusual. I went to the big funeral last week. It was really lovely.
Good. And after you were only a couple of years in Woodburn, I think, weren't you? And then
Yes.
Noel got a job with the railways.
Yes, yeah. We were up in. We went up to with his passes and that to go to uni and all that sort of thing. Well, he got the good job of looking after the goods shed.
Yes.
And did the work for all the money and all that.
Okay, so he was working in the office.
Yeah, he worked in the office at the goods sheds and that.
Okay.
And
so you.
And we had a railway house, which half was tent. It was like one big room, and then most of it had a
Is that
cotton top of it. We lived in that for 3 years.
That's right.
And I had 2 babies born from there.
Okay. So that was in Casino. This was, wasn't it? Okay.
And so while we were there, we saved our money and we bought a block of ground at the back of a house, and we built our house.
That's that picture we saw out there.
Yeah. We built that house, and then he got this. They wanted him to go to Batley because it was so busy and so forth.
So he had.
So we left it, and when I got on a train and went down there, and.
That was in 1955.
Yeah, 55. Vicky was 5-year-old. And the first night we got there, we'd stay at a hotel. Because when we got there, the people hadn't left the house that was put to be our railway house, and so we had to go to a hotel.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the night, the 3 kids come into our bedroom because they were so cold. So it was not only one night; we had 5 nights there.
Yeah, I see.
And, so then we started saving money. I went to work. I went to work in the middle of the day.
While
the kids were at school at the
what
cannery.
What did you do? You worked at the cannery?
At the cannery, yeah. I tinned fruit and all sorts of things and picked out. Yeah, it was marvellous. I loved it.
Oh, good.
And met people from the war overseas, the ones that fought towards us.
Yes.
Oh, we had a whole lot of people here, and some of them had been prisons there.
Yeah.
I wrote a really good book, and we lost a couple of boxes when we left Sydney to come up here.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened to them. No, I was so worried about it and applied for all of it, but nothing ever turned up.
Okay. So when you were down there, Nana came down, your mother came down?
Yes, the first year we were there, she came down on the train,
Yes.
all by herself.
Yeah, goodness me.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And I understand that Barry and Nellie also came.
Yeah, Barry and Nellie, I've got some lovely photos of them in the snow. We went to the snow and we were all dressed up. Yeah, that was lovely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I think John came down there too or something.
Yes, John, we played golf.
Yeah.
I took him over to the golf because this fella's, two boy men and young fellas with John. And they had what were those cars that had a flat back like that? Fairly fast ones.
No, I don't know. VW wasn't a VW.
Had that, I'll think of it later.
Beetle. Wasn't a beetle.
Or some sort of beetle.
Yeah.
It was really funny. John, there's one fella, John was his name too, I think. And he got in the car. I said, "How are you?" He's telling us a story and telling the kids too, saying, showing us how what he did. He sat in there and he said, "Look, I can drive it. It's so easy to drive." And telling the boys, you know, they're 10, 11 or something, they were, or a bit younger than that. And he said, and they said, "Well, how do you drive it? How do you, if you can't see?" He said, "You watch, you know." So he got in the damn car and he sat on the floor in the car and was driving it around. Well, somebody must have saw them because the police come up later on, and so we were sitting having a cup of coffee out on the grass in front of our little house. But they didn't come to see us, but they just come up there to look around and see this funny fella. Well, I took a photo of him, but I never found it.
Okay.
So I must. I think I might have sent it to John. He might have given it to the blokes. They were all bank blokes.
So you were in Battler for 3 years, I think,
Yes,
and then you moved to Coffs Harbour.
Yes, that's right.
So
Bought a house.
Noel was still with the railways at that stage?
Yes, he's just there just for a little while. I don't know how long he was there. Not very long. And then he got a message. So he had his name was in. Oh, there was some sort of thing because he went to the war and that they had, you know, this.
Oh yes, they got preference
and his first preference, you know, was on one of the things.
Yeah.
So he explained it to me, but and he got the job in the council, which was a very, very good job. And
so how long did he get the job in the council after you'd been at Coffs Harbour? Was it fairly soon? Was it fairly soon after you arrived at Coffs Harbour?
Oh yeah, oh yes, yeah.
Okay, so
wasn't even 12 months.
Okay, so when you arrived, you didn't have a house or anything when you arrived?
No, he didn't. Went to a lady, this nice lady with, she was a widow and no children of her own, and she had a veranda and she had 2 rooms on the side of it, so she decided that we could have it. She just interviewed me, and I told her I'd just got a job at the hospital to be a nurse there, and so so we got that, and then we had looked around for a block and we couldn't find one, but anyhow we found one with an old house on it, and so we bought that, and then we painted it up, cleaned it up, painted it up, and went into that while we built a new one up the front.
Okay.
And
Okay.
So we were there 12 or 14 years or something. I think.
Okay. And John used to come and visit because he was in the bank at Bellingen, I understand.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So.
Yeah.
And
it was nice there.
Okay, so you'd have been in, that was 1959 when you moved there, and then so you were there for 14 years. But in that period of time, that your mother and father had their wedding anniversary in 1968.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, beautiful. Up at Lismore Club.
Workers' Club, wasn't
it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a good photograph of the whole of the family at that stage.
I couldn't find one the other day. I'll have to have a look around. I must have it somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's a great photograph of that, and that's probably the last time that you were all together because your mum and dad died in 1970. Yeah.
6 weeks between their death.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But he'd been down to stay with me when not long before we left Coffs Harbour.
Okay.
He was they were down there and he had a turn while I was there.
Okay.
And he wanted to have a shower, and he said, I didn't think I'd ever see my daughter showering me, you know. He said, I admire you for being a nurse. Every time I think of it,
Yes.
upsets me. Yeah. And so he died, you know. We went to Sydney to live, and she was they were both going to come down to Sydney to see us. Anyhow, she said, she rang one day and she said, oh, Dad's sick and we won't be able to go to, we won't go.
Yeah.
And then, well, what happened then? Can't think what happened. Must be wiped now.
Lost your tissue, have you?
What did it? It's a bit silly, isn't it? Oh, here they are, under my knee. That's the first time I've done that. Anyhow, it went on all right, and then I went up to see him, and I sat with him, and then he died that night.
Oh, goodness.
And then I went home and I said, Mum's going to come down as soon as she signs the last lot of papers.
Yeah.
And then Lola was going to come. She said she wouldn't go down with Mum, but she'd come a couple of weeks after, and three of us could do things in the city and all that, you know.
Yeah.
Look, I was so looking forward to it. And anyhow, I was pulling the paper off a special room on the house, and we're going to put new paper on it, and that's what I was doing. That it was for Mum, and anyhow, it was just 6 weeks after Dad, so
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it was a sad time because my dad died at that stage, so yes, it was all within a few weeks of each other. It was a very sad year, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually arrived in Castle Hill in 1969.
69, yeah.
And Noel was working at the council.
Yeah.
Balcombe Hills Council, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he worked there until he retired, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I went, I was down there a week and a half. We got a house just to rent, just for a little while.
Yes.
Well, we said, we don't want any more than, Noel said, we don't want any more than 3 months, for sure. So anyhow, we thought we might buy one, better than building one. It takes a lot out of you when you got to do it. I've done it before. Yeah. And so we just let it go, and we got, sort of got the house, and it was a nice place to live and everything.
Yeah.
And it was, Noel could walk to work. He walked to work.
Yeah.
And the first time I went to the up to the big hospital place, it was a home, a home for old people. And it was a store, 3 or 4 stories high. We had nearly 400 people in there.
Yeah.
And that's where I got a nurse's job there, and I was there all the time.
Okay.
Over 10 years, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So I was really pleased about it.
Yeah, it was a nice plot there. It's a nice place to live in, Castle Hill.
Yeah. But dear, it's growing now.
And it has changed completely. Well, Sydney's a different place to what it was 20 years ago, there's no doubt.
And they've just got a new piece opened again, like another piece. John and Lynn's son lives quite close there too, just out from me on the left-hand side a bit.
Okay.
But he's also got a job at the same Anglican school as her. He's teaching too. Okay. He's teaching. He got a bit from the religion, which was good.
Yeah.
And so they've got children engaged now.
Oh, good.
God, that seems so.
They're growing up, yes.
Yes.
So after Noel retired, you moved up to Canelabar?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We bought one house and had to sell it because we couldn't get the smell out of it.
Okay.
We had spent nearly $200 on somebody doing it, clean, like sort of trying to get. It was clean and all, but just had it in the carpet, and then we decided we said to our friend in Butler, in Coffs Harbour, I can't remember where they all lived, our neighbours, Lindsay's, and they were lovely people. We built our house there, and he said, Maisie and Noel, he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but you'll never get that smell out of the timber in the house. There's no good pulling it up, and so forth.
So you bought another house up there? I didn't realise that you'd had two
Oh,
in
yeah.
Gadalabar. Okay.
Yeah, so
I'd forgotten
that's the one I'm talking about. It's in James Road,
Yeah.
just opposite where 2LM was.
Yeah.
And you just drive straight like that, and when you go down, we're on the corner there.
Okay.
That's where it was,
Yeah.
at a house that we sold again.
Okay.
So when we found out about it wouldn't do, what Doug
Yeah.
Lindsay said.
Yeah.
So we started making plans. Noel did the plans for himself. He saved all that money.
Yeah.
$200 or $300 to get your plan done. So
And then-
it was lovely. I loved that house. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then you decided to come down to Ballina?
Well, Noel was sick, and Vicky was still working, teaching,
Yeah.
and she also they bought a restaurant on the beach,
Yes.
and so she had to. So Noel and I were able to help with
Okay.
that if we came down. So we did all that, and
Okay.
yeah.
Alright. And then Noel died in 20 years ago, isn't it?
99, yeah, last weekend,
99.
last Friday.
Okay. Seems like only yesterday, doesn't it?
Hmm?
Seems like only yesterday, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. In a way, it's.
Yeah.
But yet very, you just don't get over it,
No, that's right.
I wonder,
Yeah.
suppose some people can
Yeah.
turn themselves upside down.
Yeah. So you
Oh,
lived.
but I haven't wanted for anything, or
Yeah.
just what I do really miss is the girls,
Mm.
Oh, sorry about that. I can't help it.
It's okay.
I haven't had to cry for ages. It's stupid, isn't it?
It is,
I tried to make myself behave myself. That's what happens.
And then
Could have turned it off.
it was about 2014 you came here, about 4 or 5 years ago you came here. This is a nice place to live, isn't it?
Hmm?
It's a good place to live here.
Oh, I think I just love being here.
Yeah.
I just got a feeling about it. I never felt like this through life,
Yeah.
especially since Noel passed away.
Yes.
I'm very peaceful at night. I think if I'm so lucky, or I wake up in the morning, I think it's, I can do whatever I like. I haven't got to go and nurse people and do all that.
Yeah, that's right.
And but I just miss company sometimes.
Yeah.
I miss the boys and that around too.
Yeah. Okay.
Even Barry, he was so friendly and so nice.
Yeah.
The kids are lovely,
Yeah.
but they're all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. So, is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
No, not just life now. Like waste.
Yeah.
I can't believe like how people they get a big wage and all that sort of thing, but they've never got any money. They're paying something off all the time, and it breaks up the marriage. And I can't believe how many people get divorces and things. It's and children without the two grandparents.
Yes.
But they're not. I think it's an unusual way that people are thinking these days, letting their children be the boss, even at the table, and things like that, and how rude people are. Like you never excuse themselves, or if anybody moves away from me when I'm riding along on my scooter, I thank them all. I just can't believe how, they all seem to be on edge all the time.
Yes.
But I don't know what that is. It's probably some personal thing, but you can see it all the time, and I don't know what. Well, Vicky goes to church and that a lot. She's tied up in the church and that now. Very good.
Mm.
I was only thinking this is between you and I. Better not put it on there though, had I? She said, I at the funeral last weekend, she said she read it, what I showed her this morning, and she read it, and she said, oh, she did the funeral, you know, and so forth. And I was thinking, I wonder is she thinking of being a lady that does the deaths of other ladies.
Might be.
Well, and it's all happening here with young ladies or older ladies helping out the funeral directors.
Yes.
Well, they're probably paid, I don't know, but
Yeah.
she goes to a lot of little pieces that's advertised in our calendar and all sort of thing.
Okay.
And I don't know what they are. And I was thinking, I wonder is it something like that? But I've never followed anything like that. Lola was good. She used to go and often read things out, and we'd talk to one another over the phone about the little pieces we had in the church service and all. And I miss that.
Yeah.
You know, because we talked on the phone. We were both lucky to be able to talk on the phone all the time.
Yes.
And anyhow, I still ring Margaret Williams and talk to her.
Oh, good.
I will phone her and tell her that you've been today. And
okay. All right. Well.
and did you get you got the grave and that fixed?
Yes. Yeah, we had all that done. So. It's it was good to do that, and we went out yesterday and had a look actually. So that was great.
I was going to tell you something that's happened to me when times I've had to go under anaesthetic and or the doctor's going to do something to me, and they said, well, how you going? What can you do that you can tell us that you're capable of doing something like that? And I just say, well, what would you like me to do? And they said, well, can you name any of your family or anything like that? And I said, oh yes, I can have a go. I'd do mine. I said, you're from a big family? And I said, yes. And they said, how many? And I said, 11. And he said, good God. so you know when they were all born? And I said, oh yes, you know. He said, well, who was first? I heard you say something about being fifth in the family, is that right? And I said, yes. Oh yes, that's right. And I said, oh well, my eldest brother arrived in 1918, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27, 29, 31, 33, 36, 39.
Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.